Welcome back. Sorry about that, I got a Snapchat coming in. Oh look, it's from the Fiero. She says, "You've been neglecting me. I want the automotive equivalent of a boob job. It's a long winter and you've got nothing better to do." All right, I'm down for that. Let's walk through what we're gonna do next.
Toys for life.
Come on over and take a look. Back when I put the Supercharged 3800 in, it was all about getting it to run and having it be sound. But I didn't put a ton of detail into making it pretty. So I'm going to start with the wiring harness and tidy up just about every aspect of it. Here's the underhood electrical center and the PCM from the donor vehicle, the Buick Regal. I'm going to take the covers off so you can see them better. My install is a little bit unique because I took the underhood electrical center from the donor vehicle and transplanted it. Now I like this because all this hardware is much newer than the Fiero's. It's got the relays, the micro relays, the maxi-amp fuses, and a dedicated power supply directly to the battery. The greatest room for improvement is going to be in customizing the harness. What's in here is essentially the 97 Regal harness forced to work within the confines of the Fiero engine bay. I'm going to totally disassemble the wiring harness and customize it to fit better within its new home. Let me just get these engine covers out of the way. Definitely going to need a coat of paint, probably a flat black. I'm going to go ahead and remove the deck lid. That'll keep it out of my way, and it also allows the overhead lights to really do a nice job lighting up the engine bay. Next up, let's drop the cold air intake tube out of the way and remove the flex coupler so we have more room to work. It's time to jump in to the wiring. 2 hours later and we got a pile to show for our efforts and some sore fingers. I've also managed to strip open the wiring harness from the fuel injectors and EGR valve down through and around by the transmission and up to the PCM and underhood electrical center. Wiring can be pretty intimidating, but it's helpful to know, like for example on this PCM, you've got two different banks here, C1 and C2, and as you can see, each one of these wires is individually numbered. And if you've just got the proper paperwork to figure out what's what, like for example, this guide is from All Data DIY, very helpful. Tells you what every single pin is for and what it does. I got this one here from Ryan, Sinister Performance, otherwise known as gmtuners.com. He's got a guide that's for Fieros, which is extremely helpful. This came out of the Chilton manual. And then for the Underhood Electrical Center, this actually just came out of the cover. And it tells you what every one of these maxi fuses, micro relays, mini fuses, tells you what everything is for. And between all of these, you can probably solve the puzzle if you're a fairly serious car guy. I completed the task of pulling out all of the wires that go through the entire harness to the rear of the motor, to things like the injectors, the map sensor, the EGR valve, oxygen sensor, those sorts of things. And I weeded them out because they have no business going all the way to the front of the motor, down around by the transmission like I showed you, and then back again to the PCM. So these are going to route along the firewall right next to the trunk. And you can see it's a much shorter route, it's much cleaner, and now I have to start the task of just shortening up each and every one of these wires. Soldering is pretty straightforward if you haven't done it before. Cut the wire to the length that you want using the strippers, strip off a little bit on each end. Using the assistance of the extra hand, get it lined up so the wires are touching each other nice and close. Using the soldering iron, heat the copper, and then touch the solder to the copper so that the solder melts and flows through the wire. Then pull the shrink wrap back over, heat it up with a flame, and you're done. Guys, just a few of the things you need to do some soldering. Obviously a wire cutter, a good wire stripper, an extra hand to hold the wires together. You really need one of these. Scotch electrical tape to temporarily hold the wires. A decent soldering iron, good solder, shrink tube, and friction tape, which is totally different than electrical tape. This will give up after a short period of time. This stuff will hold for quite a while. For wire loom, I've decided to ditch the old standby and go with something a little bit more modern. That should spruce things up a lot. All right, the last step before we apply the loom is to wrap it with friction tape. 3M makes a good product. And then once it's wrapped with the friction tape, we can go ahead and install the loom over it carefully. Just take your time and work it and make sure the seam is towards the bottom when you're done. Cut the end, use a flame to sear it so it doesn't unravel, and you're good to go. Guys, that's as far as we made it in the Supercharged 3800 Fiero engine bay makeover. Be on the lookout for part 2 coming soon. If you liked the video, please hit that share, like, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.